23 black celebrities with the most unusual body parts. You think you know what the human body is capable of. You don't. A woman whose hair weighs 42 pounds and stretches over 100 feet. A man who lived 555 days with no heartbeat and still played basketball. A boy who was completely blind and used sound to ride a bicycle through city streets. A supermodel who walked runways in Paris while carrying a secret that affected over 200 million women worldwide. A teenager born without legs who broke a Guinness World Record on his hands. These are not myths. Every single story in this video is documented, verified, and real. Stay until the very last person, because the final one will genuinely stop you cold. Subscribe to Black Celebrity Secrets right now and drop a comment below. Which story hit you hardest? Waris Dirie. There are stories that silence a room. This is one of them. Waris Dirie was born in 1965 in Galkayo, Somalia, the fourth of 12 children in a nomadic family that moved with the seasons, herded goats across the desert, and survived on almost nothing. At 5 years old, in the dark before sunrise, her mother held her down while a woman with a broken razor blade performed female genital mutilation on her. No anesthesia, no sterile tools, just a razor smeared with the dried blood of every girl who came before her. She survived it. Most girls in her community did, and most carried the damage silently for the rest of their lives. At 13, Waris learned her father had arranged her marriage to a man in his 60s. She ran. Not in the metaphorical sense. She ran barefoot through the Somali desert for days, navigating by instinct, until she reached relatives in Mogadishu. She eventually made it to London, where an uncle was serving as ambassador. When his term ended, she stayed, illegally, working as a McDonald's janitor, sleeping in unstable housing, learning English at night. Then, in 1983, a woman on a London street told her she had a look that belonged in magazines. The photographer Terence Donovan agreed. Within years, Waris Dirie was walking the runways of Paris, Milan, and New York, appearing on the covers of Elle, Vogue, and Glamour, signing exclusive contracts with Revlon and Chanel, and playing a Bond girl in The Living Daylights, 1987. She was one of the most photographed women on Earth, and she had a secret that was eating her alive. In 1997, at the peak of her career, Waris sat down with Marie Claire magazine and told the truth, publicly for the first time. She described FGM in clinical, unflinching detail. The response was seismic. That same year, the United Nations appointed her as a special ambassador for the elimination of female genital mutilation. In 1998, she published her autobiography, Desert Flower, which became an international bestseller, translated into dozens of languages, and later adapted into a 2009 film. She founded the Desert Flower Foundation in Vienna in 2002, which has since established medical treatment centers in Berlin, Stockholm, Paris, and Amsterdam, specifically for FGM survivors, and built schools and clinics across Somalia. Today, over 200 million women and girls globally have been subjected to FGM. Waris Dirie refused to let that number stay invisible. The girl who ran barefoot across a desert became the woman who made the world stop and listen. Stan Larkin. Imagine waking up every morning knowing that the thing keeping you alive is a gray backpack. Stan Larkin was approximately 23 years old when doctors at the University of Michigan Frankel Cardiovascular Center delivered the kind of news that redefines a life. His heart was failing beyond repair. He and his older brother Dominique had both been diagnosed as teenagers with a rare genetic condition called arrhythmogenic right ventricular dysplasia, a form of familial cardiomyopathy that causes irregular heart rhythms and progressive failure on both sides of the heart. It is considered one of the leading causes of sudden cardiac death in young athletes. Stan had collapsed without warning during a pickup basketball game. That collapse was the first signal his body sent him. it would not be the last. In November 2014, surgeons at the University of Michigan removed Stan Larkin's real heart from his chest. In its place, they installed a Syncardia temporary total artificial heart, a device roughly the size of a human fist, connected to two tubes that exited the left side of his torso below the rib cage. Those tubes ran to a 13.5-pound machine called the Freedom Driver, which lived in a gray backpack Stan wore every single day. The backpack pumped compressed air into the artificial heart's ventricles. Without it, Stan Larkin had no heartbeat. He was discharged from the hospital in December 2014, the first patient in Michigan ever sent home with this device. And for the next 555 days, he lived a life that his doctors described as nothing short of extraordinary. He took his 3 young children to the park. He drove in cars with friends, and he played pickup basketball, wearing the backpack, tubes visible, heart buzzing in a bag, running up and down a court in a way that made his surgeon Jonathan Haft shake his head in disbelief. "This wasn't made for pickup basketball," Haft later said at a press conference. "Stan pushed the envelope." In May 2016, a donor heart became available. Stan received the transplant and recovered at the University of Michigan. Within 2 weeks, he said he felt ready to jog. His brother Dominique had received a donor heart the year before, also after living on an artificial heart, though for a shorter period. Stan Larkin did not just survive a medical impossibility, he played basketball through it. Zion Clark. The first thing you need to understand about Zion Clark is that he has never had legs. Not lost them, never had them. Born on September 29, 1997 in Columbus, Ohio, with a rare condition called caudal regression syndrome, his body simply did not develop below the hips. What he was given instead were 2 arms with a grip strength that would eventually break a Guinness World Record, and a will that no foster system, no schoolyard bully, and no doubting coach ever managed to break. His early years were brutal. Abandoned by his birth mother, who was on drugs during pregnancy, Zion was placed into the foster care system at birth. Over the next 16 years, he cycled through 7 or 8 different homes. He was labeled a problem child. He was physically and mentally abused. He was shoved into lockers. He was the kid people assumed would amount to nothing. He found wrestling in elementary school. For the first several years, he won nothing, not a single match. But he kept showing up. By his senior year at Massillon Washington High School in Ohio, Zion Clark had compiled a 33-15 record and came within 1 match of qualifying for the Division I Ohio State Wrestling Championships. He then attended Kent State University, competing in both wrestling and wheelchair racing, becoming one of the very few athletes to pursue both Olympic and Paralympic pathways simultaneously. On February 15, 2021, at his former high school gymnasium in Massillon, Zion Clark walked 20 meters on his hands in 4.78 seconds, officially setting a Guinness World Record for the fastest 20-meter hand walk ever recorded. A Netflix documentary simply titled Zion captured his senior year and premiered at the Sundance Film Festival in 2018. He has since become a professional MMA fighter, making his debut on December 17, 2022, with a unanimous decision victory. In February 2026, he competed again in a grappling match in Kansas City. His personal philosophy, stamped across every platform he touches, is 3 words: no excuses. From a boy the foster system gave up on, to a man the world cannot stop watching. Winnie Harlow. She was 4 years old when the immune system that was supposed to protect her began destroying her instead. Winnie Harlow, born Chantel Whitney Brown Young on July 27, 1994, in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, to Jamaican parents, was diagnosed with vitiligo in early childhood. The condition occurs when the immune system mistakenly attacks and destroys melanocytes, the cells responsible for producing skin pigment. For Winnie, the depigmentation was dramatic and widespread, leaving her body covered in stark patches of skin where no color remained. At school, children called her zebra. They called her cow. They told her the condition was contagious and physically moved away from her. She changed schools multiple times, trying to find somewhere the stairs would stop. By 16, she had dropped out of school entirely. She later admitted to having contemplated suicide. What saved her in a roundabout way was the internet. Winnie began posting photos of herself online. Her presence caught the attention of Tyra Banks, who recruited her for the 21st cycle of America's Next Top Model in 2014. She didn't win. She was eliminated twice, but the world could not stop looking at her. What followed was a fashion career that redefined what a runway looked like. She walked for Versace, Fendi, and Tommy Hilfiger. She appeared in campaigns for Estee Lauder, MAC Cosmetics, Swarovski, Diesel, and Desigual. She became the brand ambassador for Desigual globally. In 2018, she made history as the first model with visible vitiligo to walk the Victoria's Secret fashion show runway, and received some of the loudest audience applause of the night. In February 2025, she announced her engagement to NBA star Kyle Kuzma. Vitiligo affects approximately 1 to 2% of the global population. Most people with the condition spend their lives trying to conceal it. Winnie Harlow built one of fashion's most celebrated careers by doing the exact opposite. The girl they called Zebra is now on the cover of British Vogue.
Joseph Williams.
Joseph Williams was born in Chicago, Illinois, without a lower jaw. Not partially formed, not damaged, absent. The condition is called otofacial syndrome, one of the rarest congenital disorders documented in medical literature, with confirmed cases worldwide that can be counted on 2 hands. It prevents the mandible, the lower jawbone, from developing in utero, leaving the face structurally incomplete from the nose downward. Within 2 days of his birth, Joseph was transferred to a Chicago hospital for emergency surgical intervention. Doctors attempted to construct a jaw using a bone and skin graft. As Joseph grew, his body rejected the reconstruction entirely. The graft failed. He was subsequently placed for adoption and entered the foster care system, eventually being taken in by a family that gave him structure and care. Because Joseph has no lower jaw, the mechanics of daily life that most people never consider became lifelong challenges for him. He cannot eat through his mouth. He receives nutrition through a gastric feeding tube inserted directly into his stomach. He cannot produce conventional speech. He communicates using sign language and a mobile communication device. His face, from the nose down, is visibly and dramatically different from any face most people have ever encountered. For much of his life, that difference invited cruelty. Strangers recorded him in public without consent. People crossed the street. Adults made comments. Children asked blunt, often painful questions. Joseph Williams answered with patience, humor, and a quiet refusal to shrink. He held a job at a warehouse. He made friends. And in 2019, at approximately 41 years old, he met a woman named Vanya at work. She was initially shocked by his appearance and struggled to approach him. Over months, she came to know who he was. They fell in love. In 2020, in front of a county clerk, they got married, spontaneously, on the spot, in the clothes they were wearing. Joseph Williams did not choose the face he was born with, but the life he built inside it, the love, the stubbornness, the survival, that was entirely his own. Asha Mandela. In March of 1988, Asha Mandela had a vision. She doesn't describe it as a dream or a feeling. She describes it as a directive, something spiritual, something that arrived with the clarity of instruction rather than suggestion. The message, as she has told it publicly many times since, was simple: grow your locks. She has not cut her hair since. Born in Trinidad and Tobago to a South African father and a Trinidadian mother, with a heritage that spans African, Caribbean, Chinese, and Indian descent, Asha Mandela moved to New York City as a young woman and eventually settled in Claremont, Florida. What began in 1988 as a spiritual commitment became, over the following decades, one of the most extraordinary physical phenomena ever documented and certified by Guinness World Records. When her locks were first officially measured on November 13, 2008, they reached 2.59 meters, 8 feet and 6 inches. When measured again on November 11, 2009, live on CBS's The Early Show by official Guinness adjudicators, they had grown to 5.96 meters, 19 feet and 6.5 inches, earning her the certified world record for the longest locks on a living person. According to her own Instagram biography, her hair has since grown to approximately 33.5 meters, or roughly 110 feet, approximately the height of a 10-story building. The weight is staggering. When dry, her locks weigh approximately 19 kilograms, 42 pounds. When wet, significantly more. She carries them in a fabric sling to protect her neck. Medical professionals have warned that the cumulative weight is causing progressive spinal curvature and cervical damage. She has declined to cut them. "Cutting my hair," she has said, "would be equivalent to suicide." Her husband Emmanuel Chege, a professional Loc stylist originally from Nairobi, Kenya, maintains her hair and has built his practice entirely around it. Washing requires 6 full bottles of shampoo and 2 complete days to dry. This is not vanity. This is a spiritual contract made with herself over 37 years ago, and she has not broken it once. Koudia Diop. At 15 years old, Koudia Diop moved from Senegal to Paris. She spoke French. She had a strong family support system. She was intelligent, determined, and ready to work. And everywhere she went, people stared. Born on December 31, 1996 in Senegal, Koudia Diop possesses a skin tone so exceptionally deep, described by researchers at Penn State as among the darkest measured in any population worldwide, that it drew sustained attention throughout her childhood. In Senegal, where deep melanin is common, family members still pressured her to try skin-lightening creams. Once, a cousin asked her simply, "Why do you want to be that dark?" Her sister told her not to listen, that her skin was beautiful and unique. That voice became the one she chose to carry. In France, the stares continued, but so did something else. Photographers began approaching her. At 17, she started modeling. At 19, she was featured in a campaign for The Colored Girl, a creative agency dedicated to celebrating diverse representations of beauty. The photos went viral almost immediately. Her Instagram following exploded from a few hundred to over 350,000 followers in a matter of days. She gave herself a name, Melanin Goddess. The fashion and beauty industries responded. She appeared in Makeup Forever's global #BlendInStandOut campaign in 2017. She became a face of Fenty Beauty's Pro Filter Foundation in shade 498, the brand's darkest offering, modeling alongside Rihanna. She has since worked with YSL Beauty, Aerie, Tommy Hilfiger, and Glamour magazine. In a 2016 CNN interview, Koudia was asked how she confronted the bullying she faced as a child. She said, "As I grew, I learned to love myself more every day and not pay attention to the negative people." The girl who was told to wash her skin lighter is now the face of Fenty's deepest shade. She calls that progress. Damon Wayans. Before Damon Wayans made America laugh, America made him cry. Born on September 4, 1960 in Harlem, New York City, the third of 10 children raised in the Fulton housing projects, Damon Kyle Wayans came into the world with a club foot, a congenital condition called talipes equinovarus, in which the foot is twisted inward and downward from birth. For Damon, the condition affected one foot severely enough to require multiple surgeries during childhood, and decades later, he has publicly confirmed that the pain never fully went away. "I had operations, but still it's like I'm in pain," he told CBS Sunday Mornings in 2024 while promoting his CBS sitcom Papa's House. I just walk around with like a toothache in my foot. It's a constant. Growing up in the Fulton Projects with a visible physical difference, Damon was ostracized. Other children avoided him. He was the target of jokes about the way he walked, the way he moved, the foot that marked him as different from everyone else in a neighborhood that had no mercy for difference. He turned those jokes around. Humor became his shield, then his weapon, then his identity. His breakthrough came with In Living Color, 1990 to 1992, the Fox sketch comedy series created by his brother Keenan Ivory Wayans. Damon wrote and performed dozens of iconic characters. Homie D. Clown, the wheelchair-using superhero Handyman, the flamboyant film critic Blaine Edwards. The show earned him 4 Emmy nominations. He later starred in Major Payne, 1995, The Last Boy Scout, 1991, and the ABC sitcom My Wife and Kids, 2001 to 2005. He incorporated his clubfoot directly into 2 characters he created: Michael Kyle in My Wife and Kids, and the lead character in his animated children's series Waynehead, 1996, a show literally based on his own childhood with the condition. At 65, Damon Wayans is still performing, still walking with a toothache in his foot, still making it look effortless. Ben Underwood. He was not born blind. Benjamin Ben Underwood came into the world on January 26, 1992 in Riverside, California, a healthy, laughing baby who gave his mother, Aquanetta Gordon, no early reason for concern. When Ben was 2 years old, Aquanetta noticed something wrong with his right eye, an unusual glow, similar to a cat's eye caught in headlights. Days later, his left pupil turned white. He expressed no pain, but she took him immediately to a doctor. The diagnosis was retinoblastoma, cancer in both eyes. Chemotherapy and radiation failed to save his vision. Both of Ben's eyes were surgically removed when he was 3 years old and replaced with prosthetics. He was left in complete, permanent darkness. And then, at age 7, something remarkable happened. While playing outside one day, Ben clicked his tongue against the roof of his mouth, once experimentally, and heard the sound return to him differently depending on what was nearby. He had, without instruction, discovered echolocation, the same biological mechanism used by bats and dolphins. He practiced obsessively, building a 3-dimensional mental map of his surroundings purely through sound waves bouncing off objects and returning to his ears. By his early teens, Ben Underwood was riding a bicycle through his neighborhood, navigating using only tongue clicks. He rollerbladed, he played basketball, he played video games, he typed 60 words per minute. His eye doctor called him one of the most proficient human echolocators ever documented. His story was featured across People magazine, 2020, Oprah, and The Ellen DeGeneres Show. Stevie Wonder became his close personal friend and celebrated Ben's 16th birthday with him. Then the cancer returned, invading his brain and spinal cord. On January 19, 2009, 7 days before what would have been his 17th birthday, Ben Underwood died. Nearly 2,500 people attended his funeral. "He didn't just die," his mother Aquanetta said. "He put it on and wore it and taught me how to do it." Diana Armstrong. This world record was never supposed to exist. Diana Armstrong was born in Minneapolis, Minnesota, around 1958 or 1959, and for most of her life she was simply a mother, a woman who raised her children, did her nails, and shared a weekly ritual with her daughter Letitia that both of them looked forward to every weekend. Letitia was 16 years old. She loved beauty. She had a gift for nail art. Every weekend, she would sit with her mother and carefully, lovingly do Diana's nails, painting them, filing them, keeping them exactly right. In 1996, the morning after one of those evenings, Letitia was found dead in her sleep. She was 16. An asthma attack had taken her in the night, silently, without warning. Diana Armstrong never picked up a nail clipper again. For 26 years, she grew her nails. Not as a statement, not as a bid for attention, but as a private memorial to a daughter she could not stop holding on to. She told no one why, not even her own family. The nails grew and grew, curling and twisting in kaleidoscopic colors that she painted herself, recruiting her grandchildren to help once the task became too large for one person. In early 2022, Guinness World Records called. She hung up, twice. Her daughter Raina convinced her to call back. On March 13, 2022, in Minneapolis, an official Guinness adjudicator measured Diana Armstrong's fingernails at a combined total length of 1,306.58 centimeters, 42 feet and 10.4 inches, making her the holder of the world record for the longest fingernails on a pair of hands ever, female. Her longest single nail, the right thumb, measures 4 feet and 6.7 inches. Filing requires a power woodworking tool. A single manicure takes 5 hours per nail and more than 1 full bottle of polish. It happens approximately once a year, with her grandchildren helping. Diana Armstrong did not set out to be extraordinary. She just could not bring herself to let go. Mahogany Jeter. The first thing people notice about Mahogany Jeter is her left leg. That's something she has been living with her entire life. Born on November 15, 1997, in Knoxville, Tennessee, with primary congenital lymphedema, a rare condition in which the lymphatic system fails to form correctly, causing fluid to accumulate permanently in the affected limb. For Mahogany, the fluid settled in her left leg and never stopped building. By adulthood, that leg had grown to weigh close to 100 pounds, nearly half the body weight of an average adult woman, permanently attached to a frame she had no choice but to carry. Doctors detected it the moment she was born. Her mother Tamika was told by nurses that one of her newborn daughter's footprints was noticeably larger than the other. What followed was a childhood defined by medical appointments, compression therapy, lymphatic drainage sessions, and the kind of cruelty that children inflict on anyone who looks different. Classmates called her a deformed bitch. A stranger told her the leg looked like a ham roll. Online commenters suggested amputation. Someone told her the devil had given her the disease. She spent years crying privately, convinced she was cursed. Then, in 2017, while working a shift at Walmart, a photographer approached her and asked if he could take her picture. Her full body, leg visible, no hiding. She hesitated. Then she said yes. The photographs circulated online. A YouTube video featuring her story collected over 10 million views. Mahogany Jeter became, almost overnight, a symbol of something the modeling industry had rarely made space for. A body that told the full truth about what living looks like. She now models professionally, posting regularly on Instagram under @model.mahoganyYG and @lymph.goddess23, where she documents her treatments, her fashion work, and her relentless refusal to shrink. There is no cure for lymphedema. The leg will not shrink. And Mahogany Jeter shows up in front of cameras anyway. Denzel Washington. He is widely considered one of the greatest actors in the history of American cinema. 2 Academy Awards, 10 Oscar nominations, the most of any black actor in history. Roles that have defined decades of film. Malcolm X, Alonzo Harris, Troy Maxson, Roman J. Israel, McCall in The Equalizer, and most recently, Hannibal Lecter reimagined in Gladiator 2, 2024. But there is one thing about Denzel Washington's body that almost nobody notices until someone points it out. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Look at his right hand. Spread it flat. Watch the pinky. Denzel Washington was born on December 28, 1954, in Mount Vernon, New York. At some point during his childhood, he broke the pinky finger of his right hand. Accounts vary between a basketball accident and repeated injuries from American football. What is consistent across all sources, including Denzel's own account on The Graham Norton Show in 2014, is that the finger was never properly set. It healed crooked, permanently bent at the bottom knuckle at a 45-degree angle outward from his other fingers. The joint today, he has explained, feels like a gummy bear, soft and rubbery, with a piece of reconstructed tissue inside that moves independently. As a child, he used it as a party trick to alarm other kids. As a father, he used it to freak out his children's friends, calling it the magic finger. His kids, he has said, loved demanding he show it to their friends. The finger appears in dozens of his most iconic films, visible in close-up shots to viewers who know where to look. Denzel Washington has won every major acting award available to a performer, been called the most symmetrical face in Hollywood by a Newsweek analysis, and held the title of Sexiest Man Alive from People magazine in 1996. He also has a permanently crooked finger that he never bothered to fix. That might be the most Denzel Washington thing about him. Troy James. The first time Troy James walked across a stage in full backbend, the judges of America's Got Talent did not applaud. They stared open-mouthed, in the specific silence that follows something the human eye refuses to process as real. Born in Algeria and raised in Toronto, Canada, Troy James grew up knowing his body moved differently than other people's bodies. His joints rotated in directions that should not be possible. His spine bent backward at angles that looked fabricated. He moved, when he chose to, like something that had never learned the rules of anatomy, because for him, those rules simply did not apply. As a child, he thought everyone could do what he did. When he realized they couldn't, he hid it. For years, he kept his flexibility secret, enduring the nicknames, the Scorpion, the Pipe Guy, and the instinctive distance other children created when they saw what his body could do. His professional path began at Canada's Wonderland as a character performer, then accelerated through television credits that now span the best of contemporary genre entertainment. He played a creature character on FX's The Strain, earning the direct praise of Guillermo del Toro, who later said, "You are a master of your craft, and I killed you off too quickly." He appeared in Channel Zero on Sci-Fi, where showrunner Nick Antosca wrote an entire season specifically around Troy's abilities after seeing what he could do in a minor role. He played the DC villain Ragdoll in Season 5 of The Flash on the CW. He appeared in Nightmare Alley, Hellboy, and Separation. His AGT audition in Season 13, 2018, accumulated tens of millions of views online. All 4 judges voted yes. His 2024 appearance on Season 4 of Canada's Got Talent reminded new audiences what they had been missing. No CGI, no post-production, just a man whose bones never learned to say no. Willie Murphy. She started lifting weights in her early 70s because she saw a sign at the YMCA. When Willie Murphy, born June 15, 1937 in Rochester, New York, walked up to the front desk of the Maplewood Family YMCA and asked if she could enter their powerlifting competition, an employee told her, "Go for it, Granny." She went for it. She never stopped. By age 77, Willie Murphy had deadlifted 215 pounds, won the World Natural Powerlifting Federation Lifter of the Year Award for 2014, and held multiple New York State and national records across several WNPF age categories. When she turned 80, the WNPF had to create an entirely new competitive age bracket specifically for her, because no woman her age had ever competed at that level before, and the existing categories didn't reach far enough. She trains 3 days a week. She uses no belts, no chalk, no ammonia, no performance-enhancing substances of any kind. Just a bar, a bench, and decades of refusal to accept that the human body has an expiration date. Then came November 21st, 2019. A man broke into her home in Rochester late at night, forcing his way through the door after she called the police. Willie Murphy, then 82 years old, picked up her TV stand and hit him with it until it broke. She then beat him with the metal legs, then a broom, then a bottle of soap. The intruder was hospitalized. Willie posed for photographs with the responding police officers afterward. The story was covered by ABC, CBS, NBC, The Washington Post, and the Daily News. She appeared on The Steve Harvey Show. She received standing ovations from people who had never watched a powerlifting competition in their lives. At 88, she still trains, still competes, still holds records no one else in her age group has the nerve to challenge. "It is never too late," she says. From her, that is not motivation. That is documentation. Caleb Mutombo. He stands 110 centimeters tall. He weighs 45 kilograms. And he has walked onto bodybuilding stages in Johannesburg to compete against men twice his height who had no idea what was about to happen. Caleb Mutombo was born on June 26, 1997, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, with sickle cell anemia, an inherited blood disorder that causes red blood cells to deform into rigid crescent shapes, obstructing blood flow and starving the body's tissues of oxygen. The disease left him with physical disabilities affecting his legs, arms, shoulders, and hands. His growth stopped entirely at age 14, leaving him at a permanent height of 3 feet 7 inches, the body of a young child, built with the muscle architecture of a serious athlete. When Caleb was 2 years old, his parents brought him and his older brother Kalala, who also had sickle cell anemia, to South Africa in search of medical assistance. Over time, their parents returned to the DRC, and the brothers were eventually placed at Kids Haven, a children's home in Johannesburg. Caleb's older sister Jemima was a blood match and donated to him, saving his life. His brother Kalala was not so fortunate. He later died from meningitis, a loss Caleb has described as devastating. At 16, Caleb gained access to the gym at Kids Haven and began training without guidance, using whatever he could find. His early equipment included water bottles, a wooden chair, and bags filled with books. He later began formal training with coach Ryan Manthe at the Trinergy Health and Fitness Center in Northmead, who had read about Caleb in a newspaper and sought him out. At 19, Caleb placed third in the junior bodybuilding category at the Summer Superbodies competition in Johannesburg, competing against able-bodied athletes in his age division. "My body is a masterpiece," he has said, "and a reflection of my hard work." At 28, he runs a freelance digital services business, teaches bodybuilding, and continues competing. Stephen Wiltshire. He was 3 years old and completely nonverbal when the diagnosis came. Stephen Wiltshire was born on April 24, 1974, in London, England, to parents of Caribbean heritage. His father Colvin from Barbados, his mother Geneva from St. Lucia. By the time he was 3, he had not spoken a single word. Doctors diagnosed him with autism. That same year, his father died in a motorbike accident, leaving Geneva to raise Stephen and his sister Annette alone in Little Venice, Maida Vale. At 5, Stephen was enrolled at Queen's Mill School in West London. Teachers observed almost immediately that the only activity that held his attention was drawing. They began encouraging him to speak by temporarily removing his art supplies until he asked for them verbally. His first word was paper. His second was pencil. By age 8, Stephen Wiltshire had received his first major commission, a drawing of Salisbury Cathedral, personally requested by then British Prime Minister Edward Heath. He was 8 years old. What Stephen Wiltshire possesses is a form of eidetic visual memory so precise that it earns him the nickname the human camera. He can observe a city from a helicopter in a single flight over a matter of minutes, and then reproduce it on paper with architectural accuracy, correct proportions, and the exact number of windows, columns, and structural details visible from the air. Following a 20-minute helicopter ride over New York City, he produced a 19-foot-long panoramic drawing of 305 square miles of Manhattan, from memory over 5 days at the Pratt Institute. He has drawn Rome, Tokyo, Singapore, Dubai, Jerusalem, Sydney, and London on canvases spanning up to 32 feet. When he drew Rome, he included the exact number of columns in the Pantheon. In 2006, Queen Elizabeth II appointed him a member of the Order of the British Empire, MBE, for services to art. His gallery in Chelsea Harbour, London, is open by appointment. A boy who once could not ask for a pencil now draws entire cities from memory.
Erin Rose Phillip.
She was 16, black, transgender, quadriplegic, and unrepresented, and she decided to do something about all of it at once.
Erin Rose Phillip was born
Ariana Rose Phillip on March 15, 2001, in Antigua and Barbuda. As a baby, she was diagnosed with quadriplegic cerebral palsy, a neurological condition caused by damage to the developing brain that affects voluntary muscle control in all 4 limbs. When she was 3 years old, her parents relocated the family to the United States in search of better medical care and educational resources. They settled in the Bronx, New York. There were years in a homeless shelter. There were years of navigating a city that was not built for a body like hers. Erin uses a wheelchair full-time. Her upper body has limited voluntary control. She communicates, creates, and competes with a combination of technology and a personality that fills rooms. In 2017, still in high school, she posted a tweet that went viral overnight. A simple declaration that she existed, that the fashion industry had not made space for someone like her, and that she intended to change that. More than 200,000 people retweeted it within hours. 18 months later, in September 2018, she signed with Elite Model Management, becoming the first black, transgender, physically disabled model ever signed to a major modeling agency anywhere in the world. Her career accelerated at a pace the industry didn't anticipate. Jeremy Scott, then creative director of Moschino, cast her as the sole face of their autumn/winter 2020 campaign. In 2021, she became the first wheelchair-using model to walk for a major luxury brand at New York Fashion Week, debuting in Moschino's Spring/Summer 2022 show. In 2023, she became the first black transgender woman with quadriplegic cerebral palsy to attend the Met Gala. She appeared on the cover of British Vogue's Reframing Fashion issue alongside Selma Blair and Sinead Burke. On May 4, 2026, she attended the Met Gala for the second time, arriving under the costume art theme. The industry said there was no space for her. She showed up anyway. Ralph Souffrant. He planned to become a dermatologist. Ralph Souffrant was born on April 28, 1995 in Haiti, and by the time he arrived in Brooklyn, New York at 9 years old with his mother, speaking Creole in a city that spoke English, he already had one defining characteristic that made every social interaction harder: his skin. Ralph's body is covered from face to torso to arms in dense clusters of freckles caused by a condition described by dermatologists as similar to vitiligo, a disorder in which melanin distribution becomes irregular and concentrated rather than uniform. The result is a pattern of dark freckling across his skin that is striking, unusual, and impossible to miss. As a child in Brooklyn, it made him a target. "Kids always made fun of me," he has said. "I couldn't hide. My freckles were everywhere." He was 13 when a photographer named Aaron Taylor approached him in a Brooklyn park and asked to take his picture. Not mockingly, professionally. Taylor became his mentor, photographing him for free over the following years, helping him build a visual identity. In 2015, they created an Instagram account. The fashion industry responded faster than either of them expected. His official modeling debut came at one of the most watched events in fashion: Kanye West's Yeezy Season 3 presentation at Madison Square Garden during New York Fashion Week, where he was personally selected from an open casting call of over 1,000 models. He appeared in Tommy Hilfiger campaigns alongside supermodel Carolyn Murphy. He was selected to model the launch of Beyoncé's Ivy Park collection, becoming the first male model ever to do so, posing alongside Laverne Cox. He has been featured in campaigns for Adidas, Equinox, and Tiffany & Company, and covered by Teen Vogue and ID magazine. "The thing I love about freckles," he told Teen Vogue, "is that no two patterns are the same. They're specific to you and you alone." The boy who couldn't hide is now impossible to forget. Kechi Okwuchi. On December 10, 2005, a plane carrying 109 people attempted to land at Port Harcourt International Airport in Nigeria. It crashed. It burst into flames. 107 people died. Kechi Okwuchi was 16, sitting in an aisle seat, coming home for Christmas. Born on October 29, 1989 in Lagos, Nigeria, Kechi had spent her senior year at Loyola Jesuit College in Abuja, boarding school the way most 16-year-olds spend it, studying, singing in the choir, looking forward to the holidays. 60 of her classmates were on that flight. She was one of 2 survivors. The crash left Kechi with third-degree burns covering 65% of her body. She was given a 30% chance of survival. She was airlifted first to Mill Park Hospital in Johannesburg, South Africa, and later transferred to Shriners Hospitals for Children in Galveston, Texas, where she would spend years undergoing more than 100 reconstructive surgeries. The burns altered her face, neck, arms, and torso in ways that no surgery has been able to fully reverse. During her hospitalization, lying immobile and bandaged, she sang every day. It was the one thing she could do lying flat that didn't hurt. Doctors incorporated music therapy into her treatment plan. The burns inexplicably changed her voice, deepening and enriching it in ways that remain medically unexplained. She returned to high school in 2009. She graduated with first-class honors in economics from the University of St. Thomas in Houston in 2015, later earning an MBA from the same institution. In 2017, she performed on America's Got Talent Season 12, singing Ed Sheeran's "Thinking Out Loud" to a full standing ovation. In 2019, she received Simon Cowell's Golden Buzzer on AGT, The Champions, for her performance of Hallelujah. In 2022, she published her memoir, More Than My Scars, with a foreword by Simon Cowell. She survived to prove that what the fire left behind was more than enough. Michele Ruffinelli. For most of her life, Michele Ruffinelli's body was unremarkable. Born on January 31, 1973 in Santa Monica, California, she grew up at a normal weight, led an active life through adolescence, and by her early 20s weighed approximately 140 pounds. She wore a size 14. Nothing about her physical profile suggested what was coming. Then she had children. After the birth of her first child, her weight began to climb. After the second, the third, the fourth, her hips widened in a way that no standard medical explanation fully captures. Part of the answer, Michele has disclosed in interviews, is lipedema, a chronic and frequently misdiagnosed condition in which fat tissue accumulates abnormally in the lower body, disproportionately concentrated in the hips and thighs, regardless of overall diet or exercise. The condition affects primarily women, is often dismissed by physicians as simple obesity, and carries no straightforward cure. For Michele Ruffinelli, lipedema combined with her natural body structure to produce hips that eventually measured approximately 8 feet, over 2.4 meters, in circumference, while her waist remained a comparatively narrow 3 feet and 4 inches. Her total body weight reached over 420 pounds. In 2013, the World Record Academy certified her as the holder of the world record for the widest hips of any living person. The practical realities of living with this body require constant adaptation. She drives a truck because she cannot fit in a standard car. She uses a reinforced chair at home. She purchases 2 airplane seats when she flies. Moving through standard doorways requires approaching sideways. Finding clothing requires custom construction. Mikel Ruffinelli has modeled as a plus-size model, earning approximately $1,000 per shoot. She has worked as a BBW fashion consultant and motivational speaker. In 2015, she appeared in a TLC documentary recreating her wedding, which required a custom-designed gown. She has never apologized for the space she occupies. Kim Goodman. Kim Goodman discovered she had a superpower at a Halloween party. Someone hit her on the head with a hockey mask. Her eyes popped outward, further than eyes are supposed to move, further than she had ever felt them move before. When the disorientation cleared, she realized something had shifted. She could do it again, on purpose, and again. Kim Goodman lives in Chicago, Illinois, and holds the Guinness World Record for the farthest eyeball protrusion by a female, officially measured on November 2, 2007, in Istanbul, Turkey, using a medical device called a proptometer, which quantifies the forward displacement of the eyeball from the socket in millimeters. The average human eye protrudes between 6 and 8 millimeters from its socket. Kim Goodman's eyes protrude 12 millimeters, 0.47 inches, on demand. Her ability also activates involuntarily when she yawns. She feels no pain when it happens. Her eyes do not dry out. She is not afraid of them becoming permanently displaced. The protrusion is not linked to any underlying thyroid condition, glaucoma, or orbital pathology that doctors have been able to identify. It appears to be a structural anomaly unique to her ocular architecture. In 2004, Guinness World Records selected Kim Goodman's eyeball protrusion as one of the top 10 most remarkable physical feats in the book's 50-year history, placing her alongside records that had defined half a century of human extremity. She has demonstrated the ability on The Late Show with David Letterman and at entertainment events, fairs, and international appearances spanning decades. Her Guinness female record remains unbroken as of 2025. At school, she has said with the particular calm of someone who has made total peace with the unusual. The kids used to call me Popeye. Now I get paid for being a Popeye. Annie Hawkins Turner. Annie Hawkins Turner did not ask for what happened to her body. No one does. Born on December 22, 1956 in Atlanta, Georgia, Annie began experiencing abnormal breast tissue development from early childhood. Not puberty, not adulthood, but childhood. The condition is called gigantomastia, a rare and poorly understood medical disorder characterized by excessive progressive breast tissue growth that is believed to involve hypersensitivity to hormonal signals. It affects a very small percentage of the global population. There is no reliable cure, though reduction surgery is widely available and often recommended by physicians. Annie Hawkins Turner chose not to have surgery. That decision, entirely personal and entirely her own, altered the trajectory of her life in ways she has navigated with a directness that deserves respect. On December 1, 1999, the Guinness Book of World Records officially certified her as the holder of the world record for the largest natural breasts on a living person. At that time, her formal measurements were recorded as 70, 48, 52 inches, with each breast weighing approximately 28 pounds. By her 2011 appearance on ITV's This Morning, the figures had grown. Bust circumference, 72.5 inches, each breast weighing an estimated 56 pounds, making the combined chest weight exceed 112 pounds. Under the professional name Norma Stitz, a deliberate and unapologetic wordplay, she entered the adult fetish modeling industry in the early 1990s after winning an amateur layout competition, eventually appearing in approximately 250 softcore films and building a website-based enterprise that operated for over 2 decades. She was married for 13 years to her late husband, Alan Turner, an Air Force officer who died in 2006. They had 2 children together. At 69, Annie Hawkins Turner has lived an extraordinary life in a body the world built nothing for, and she has commanded every room she has ever entered. Francisco Domingo Joaquim. He opened his mouth, and the world could not look away. Francisco Domingo Joaquim was born around 1990 in the Sambizanga neighborhood of Luanda, Angola, one of the city's poorer districts, where he grew up performing on the streets for anyone who would stop to watch. His act was simple, visually impossible, and completely real. He could stretch his mouth open to a width that no other human being on Earth could match. Guinness World Records researchers discovered him the way most viral phenomena get discovered. Someone uploaded a video to YouTube. It spread, and suddenly the world's most meticulous record keepers were spending 2 years trying to locate one man in Angola. When they finally tracked him down to Luanda, what they measured confirmed what millions of viewers had already suspected. Francisco Domingo Joaquim could stretch his mouth to a width of 17 centimeters, approximately 6.69 inches. That is wider than the diameter of a standard 330 milliliter soda can. He demonstrated this by fitting the Coca-Cola can sideways inside his open mouth at the Big Mouth competition in Rome, Italy in 2010, where contestants attempted to fit unusual objects in their mouths using saucers, coffee cups, and beer bottles. Nobody came close. Guinness World Records officially certified him as the holder of the world record for the widest mouth, and he became known internationally as Chiquinho Boca Grande, roughly translated as Little Chico Big Mouth. His videos accumulated millions of views globally. He appeared in international media. He became the only Angolan ever named in the Guinness Book of World Records, a distinction his country took considerable pride in. His smile was, quite literally, like no one else's in human history. In January 2023, his mother announced through an audio message on social media that Francisco had passed away the previous Thursday, following 2 months of hospitalization due to a lung disease. He was 31 years old. Angola lost its most unique record holder. The world lost the widest smile it had ever measured. 23 people. 23 bodies the world was not prepared for, and every single one of them refused to disappear quietly. But let's have an honest conversation, one most people avoid. When we watch these stories, are we truly inspired? Or are we on some level consuming someone else's pain the same way people once paid to stare at circus performers? Is there a real difference between celebrating someone's difference and turning it into entertainment? There is no easy answer, and that discomfort is exactly where important conversations begin. Drop your honest take in the comments. Black Celebrity Secrets reads every single one. Share this video with someone who needs to see it today. And if this made you feel something real, hit subscribe, because the stories we tell here are the ones the mainstream refuses to.